As a teacher, the first report I look at is the class report because it gives me an overview of the current status of my students' skills in each subject area. As a teacher, the first report I look at is the class report because it gives me an overview of the current status of my students' skills in each subject area. I use this report to compare my class's overall performance with NWEA's national normative data. I can also compare goal areas, which are like standards. Students' goal area performance shows me their strengths or areas of need as a class. Scrolling down to the final pages of the report, I use the individual student data to begin planning for enrichment or instructional support for students who scored in particularly low or high percentiles. Individual student goal area strengths and needs can be identified as well. If you've not yet viewed the Creating Map Reports video, it will walk you through making appropriate selections. I usually use the defaults on the screen and just select the classes and subject areas I want to download. The first page in the class report is an overall summary page. The colorful bars to the left represent quintiles. On the first or second page of the report, I see how my students performed in each goal area. I only have one student in the lowest quintile in operations and algebraic thinking, as well as in geometry. In the other two goal areas, no one is in the lowest quintile. Because statistics and probability and geometry both have 16 students in the highest quintile, these goal areas could be considered strengths for this group of students. Just above the quintiles, the summary table can also be quite useful. The mean or median RIT score can be compared with the national normative data. This way I get a sense of how my class compares to the national average. In this example, the norm grade level mean RIT is 234.5, and my class mean is 244.3. So they are above the norm. After the summary data in the class report, I drill into the individual student performance data. Remember, other reports will show growth. This report is just showing a student's current status. Let's zoom in on one student, Thelma Berner. Thelma has an overall math RIT score of 243. The two numbers to the left and right of 243 represent her standard error of measurement. A standard error of 3 or 4 is normal. A higher standard error would indicate an inconsistent test performance, and I would want to triangulate data carefully. Thelma's percentile is 68th, so she performed better than 67% of her peers, plus or minus standard error. I can also see that she spent 54 minutes on the test. The 4 lettered columns correspond with the lettered goal performance areas listed above the columns. So in this case, column A represents operations and algebraic thinking. As I continue to analyze Thelma's performance, I identify her areas of strength as A, as well as C, geometry. She scored in the average range in areas B and D. My view of this section of the class report was affected by the report options I chose when I generated the report. I could have chosen to view my class in order by RIT instead of alphabetically. That way, when I look at this list, I could easily identify the top, middle, and bottom scoring students. I can also choose to view these goal area descriptors as RIT ranges instead of descriptors. So instead of seeing high average, I would see the RIT range numbers that represent Thelma's current level of understanding. With the class report, I can gather both whole group and individual student data related to the current status of my students' skills and abilities. Using the mean RIT score and norm RIT scores, I can compare my class to the national norm data. The goal area quintiles give me a broad first look at the content topics that are strengths and weaknesses for my class. When I create my class report by RIT score, I can easily identify students who will need enrichment to show growth, as well as those who need support. In addition, I can identify the goal area strengths and needs for individual students.